Hi everyone, thank you for joining the Fight with Teddy Atlas. I'm Teddy Atlas III. I'm joined by boxing legend, my father, Hall of Famer, Teddy Atlas. How you doing, bud?
More importantly, really, is thank you for being here, bud. I know you've been under the weather the last couple of days. I know you had a high fever. You've been pretty sick. You even got yourself out of bed last night to do the live streaming, the watch along we did with Tank Davis and Roach. So I hope you're feeling a little better. I mean, you look a little pale, but I hope you're feeling better. And thank you. I'm sure the people appreciate you, being here. This is what pros do, right? We're not patting ourselves on the back, making more of it than has to be, but you answer the bell. And I appreciate you answering the bell even though you've been sick. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. I think all the travel, all these airports, it finally caught up to me, and just a little bug. I don't know if it's the flu or what, but just trying to rest, get some fluids. So, yeah, thank you for saying that. But I'm feeling better, and I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, we did the watch along last night. A lot of good comments. People liked it. I hope we're going to do more and more. We're keeping our word, that we're going to do more and more of that for all the fights that make sense to do it. And it's up to you people to vote. Vote with your approval or not approval. And your vote is cast simply by being there. You come out, we register that you're there, we see the views. We're going to keep doing it. We're going to keep building. If not, we're not. So it's totally in you guys' hands. Pass the word. Let us know if you want to watch fights. Turn off the sound. Listen to me. If that's what you want to do. But we got a lot of good comments. A lot of good fights yesterday. A lot of controversy in the fights, and a lot of bad ref. Unfortunately, bad refereeing in Ireland in the afternoon. We'll get to that. And horrible. I thought bad ref in the Tank Davis fight that could have cost Roach, instead of a draw, getting a win. Because when you've been in the NFL 15 years, but I know when a guy takes a knee, that's a fair catch. But it's not a timeout in boxing. Unless somebody wrote a rule when I was sleeping and they put in a new rule in there, that is not a rule. But that's the problem with boxing. There's no enforcement of rules. People just do things and there's no accountability. I've been screaming for years from the mountaintops, from the treetops, from anywhere I could to get a national commission, get, uniform rules across the board that can actually be enforced in this sport. I was making a comparison last night. Tom Brady, 4th down and goal. 3 seconds left in the game, no timeouts. This is it, right? They're down. They got to get this touchdown. He comes up to the line, and all of a sudden, he decides to go over to the sideline and just check with Bill Belichick. But there's no timeouts. Wait a minute. You can't do that. Nah, I'm doing it. I'm doing it. I'm just doing it. You can't do it. There's a rule. There's enforcement. You would blow the game. You can't do it. But that's what Tank Davis, who, I have him as a top pound-for-pound fighter in the top 5. And that's what he did. He had something in his eyes, said he had grease. Okay, fine. But this is not the Indianapolis 500. There's no pit stops. There's no pit crew. You can't take a knee and go over and get your face wiped, which he did, and the referee doesn't know what's going on, and the referee lets it happen, and poor Roach, has a chance for a huge upset, minus 1,600, plus 1,600, I'm sorry. The Roach was actually plus 900. You know how the bookie stuff works. You get back 900, and you got to lay 1,600 if you got Tank. So it winds up being a draw. Anyway, you will take us, before you take us through this whole stuff and the order that you want to take us, bud, let all the people know I'm going out to Vegas this week. I'll be out there with you for the UFC card to see Pereira. You talk about power, you talk about a stare. a stare. Oh, debilitating. You're bringing back, you invoking images of Sonny Liston, guys like that, when they just go Roberto Duran at his best, when they just stare you down and they just go right to your soul. So I'll be going out there for the Pereira fight. It's a tough fight. It's a very interesting matchup that he's going to be in there with. So we'll talk about that a little bit later. I just wanted to clean up a little spill on aisle 3. I had a spill on aisle 3, but in the fights, the great card that was out there, and I like to be transparent. I always say it. So I gotta check myself sometimes. We gotta do that. I'm responsible for what I say, what comes out of my mouth, how I behave, and we were in Saudi Arabia for that unbelievable card, and Sheeraz and Adames. Look, first of all, during the fight, Turki Al-Sheikh, who no doubt about it, he has changed boxing. I'm the first guy to say it. Some people are probably mad that I'm saying it so much, but he's become the face of boxing. He's given us fights in the last year and a half that we couldn't get. We didn't have. And it's made the fans happy. It's made the sport healthier. There's no doubt. But he got up during the fight. Obviously, he loves Sheeraz. He loves fighters. He loves boxing. He's passionate. But he got up. He feels a closeness to Sheeraz, one of his favorites. He got up and he was telling the corner that you are down by 2 points. And a lot of people didn't think it's appropriate. Look, it is not a good look. There's no doubt about it. When the guy who is the new face of boxing, who's running things, putting all these big fights on, providing, obviously, the resources to do this, when he gets up, if nothing else, it has the look that he could have influence, right? It's got the look like, Jesus, he's going over and telling a guy, you're down, like he could influence this fight. He can impact this fight. So it doesn't have a good look. I am not. I heard some of the feedback. I don't usually listen, but I was on this one. I was being like one of the great Native Americans, Indians. They put their head to the ground, and they could hear the horses coming. I heard the horses coming. I heard a little bit, and I responded to it right now. I'm reacting to it. Yeah. I should have, when you brought that up, I probably should have reacted a little stronger to it like I am now. But having said that, there is no doubt that throughout this sport, I just complained about the judging or the refereeing, that there is no police, there is no body in the watchtower, really making sure that there's certain rules that are adhered to, certain behavior that's adhered to, certain conduct that is kept in line in this sport. There isn't. And you're going to just, please, I understand that was something that would upset somebody, especially if they weren't a Sheeraz fan. That, again, that Turki Al-Sheikh could impact the outcome of the fight by going over there and being seen to talk to the corner and tell them they're down by 2 points. I think that's what he was saying. You haven't seen throughout this sport, though, promoters that are running a show that have a particular fighter in the main event. You haven't seen them root for that fighter? I've seen it. I've seen it for years. I'm just saying it's not like it's never been seen. I mean, come on. I don't want to start naming names, but if you're any kind of honest fan and you've been around, you've seen promoters, again, that run that show, obviously yield a lot of power. They have that fighter in the main event. They obviously have a great interest in that fighter winning, and they're up cheering for the guy. Again, is it an appropriate look? No. It can be a look that says, wait a minute, does that mean that he can also influence the outcome of the fight. It makes you think about such things that we shouldn't be thinking about. So it's been there before, is what I'm saying. And I'm not apologizing. I'm not, I'm not standing up. I'm not trying to make an excuse for Turki Al-Sheikh doing it. Obviously, he can do what he wants. Obviously, there's no rule against it. Promoters have been doing it forever, right? So at the end of the day, I took some flack saying that I had Sheeraz. It's a very close fight, a lot of close round, a lot of stuff that was not done. It wasn't about what these guys did. It was about what they didn't do. Adames was the more physical fighter, the more experienced fighter, the champion. He had to get inside on the great reach of Sheeraz. He did. It took him a while, but he did. He could have done more. I'm not trying to take away from him. I'm trying to lay out. He did enough in certain spots to win rounds, but there were a lot of rounds that he left very open because he didn't do enough. And there was a lot of rounds where Sheeraz, his fight plan was to use his height, stay on the outside, jab. He didn't use the right hand. He set the table, as I like to say. He didn't eat enough. There's no doubt about that. When you mix it all together between Sheeraz on the outside, controlling geography with the jab, having his moments, and then Adames having his moments when he get inside. He went to the body, that long body. He outworked Sheeraz in that geography. Those were his rounds. There were a lot of close rounds that didn't differentiate, and I'm going to say it again, because neither guy did as much as you would like them to do with their position, inside or outside. I scored it again. I watched it again yesterday for you, for the fans. And I said, okay, was I way off? I had Sheeraz winning a close fight. I had it real close. And I looked at it, and I'm going to show you I'm going to show you my scorecard. Richie, make sure they can see this. Before I do, I wound up with a draw. Come to me. Knock the crap all you want. It's okay. I'm having a conversation with you. I only had 2 rounds that I put a little star next to, an asterisk. The 10th and the 12th was so close, I didn't feel comfortable for sure. One of those rounds I gave to Sheeraz, and the other one, which was the 12th round, I gave to Adames. Those 2 rounds, at the end I had it 114. If you change those 2 rounds, and I have no problem, I just said it, you could have 1 point or 2 points for either guy. 1 point here, one. But I don't see it any further than that, where people said, oh my God, Adames destroyed him. I'm not saying Sheeraz had the best night. It was his first time fighting for the title. I'm just trying to lay out why I had what I had. It was the first fight. You could see his confidence was not at the level yet that it's probably going to be after this fight. He had a bad left hand, it looked like, but that's no excuse. He still used the left hand. He should have used the right hand more. I think that comes from experience or lack of experience. Adames showed the experience to take control when he had to. Before I show you this card, I think that the scorekeepers influenced some of you people there, because I looked at their card, Bud, last night, and they had Adames winning a lot of those early rounds. I had the first 4 rounds. Yeah, I'll say it again, for Sheeraz. Yeah. Because, and I went over 3 times to make sure. Am I losing my mind here? He jabbed. He controlled the outside. Adames did nothing. Yeah, he pressed. You don't win by being aggressive if you're not punching, if you're not landing, if you're not moving your hands. He did not. Sheeraz didn't move his hands on the outside for the next 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The next 5 rounds I gave to Adames. So the first 4 rounds on the jab and geography I gave to Sheeraz. The next 5 rounds, 5 rounds, from the 5th all the way to the 9th, it was becoming a runaway for Adames. I agree. Getting inside, moving his hands more, won all those rounds. The turning point then, before it completely was ran away with by Adames, was the 10th round. Close round. I gave that round to Sheeraz. He had to win that round. He won that round. And then I had him win in the 11th. I thought he stole it late with 2 big shots. And then the 12th round, again, a very close round. I gave it, you could have even been even. But the 12th round, I gave it to the champion, Adames. And that gave him the draw. Obviously, he kept his title. Again, a lot of people said, Ted, you got mad at other people that got robbed. You said because it was a draw, he didn't lose his title. It wasn't a robbery. It's still a robbery. All right, you want to say that? Yeah, but at the end of the day, it wasn't a robbery. It just was draw, no draw. It wasn't a robbery. Not just because he didn't walk out, he being Sheeraz, he didn't walk out with the title, but because I didn't think it was a robbery. Again, 1 point, give it to Adames. 2 point, go ahead. 1 point the other way, or draw, but not the way that you people made it. That it was, oh my God, it was so bad. Again, I just want to see what I wrote here. 10th round, closer round. He needed this round, he being Sheeraz, and he moved his hands finally. Again, look, here it is. Can you see it, Rich? Can they see it? These people out there that, they need help. Richie, they need help. I'm trying to help them, Rich. I'm trying to help these people. You need a haircut. I'm trying to help these people. I like them. I care about them. I'm trying to listen. You don't have to agree with me. We know that. We can differ with our opinions, but I listened to you, okay? I heard you, and I came back to this because of you. I wanted to give you my explanation. That's it. Take it from there, bud.
Yeah.
Is that okay? Is that all right, bud? Yeah.
I think the fans will appreciate the time of going back and recapping. You didn't have to do that, and you watched it again and scored it out. That's the way you saw it, right? So I thought, to your point, what you said, Sheeraz was winning those early rounds. Adames was winning the later rounds. Neither guy did enough. Let's get the rematch, and we'll find out next go-around. So moving on from that, and thank you again for doing that recap. Let's get to the weekend action. First from Belfast. So we had on DAZN, it was an IBF title eliminator, Paddy Donovan versus Lewis Crocker. Donovan's a guy that you've been high on for quite some time, a guy that you've touted on the show.
I think he's the top Irish prospect. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Yeah, and you've said that for a year or 2 years now. And he was in complete control. He looked that way. Crocker looked one-dimensional. And Donovan was the classier guy. He was boxing, he was moving, he was winning. It got to the point where I said he's going to coast to a win, or maybe he's going to get the stoppage. And then the referee started getting involved. The referee deducts 2 points from Donovan. And then in the 9th round, clearly after the bell, Donovan lands a punch, drops Crocker, and he is disqualified. Paddy Donovan loses by disqualification. Crocker wins. He is now the number 1 for the IBF title. What'd you make of this fight? What'd you make of the referee and just the final verdict of this?
Bullocks, as to use a phrase across the pond with the fans I love over there. Bullocks! 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 It's horrible. I think they should arrest this ref. Yeah, I think they should put him in handcuffs. I think they should explain why it looked like he was deliberately in a pocket, that it looked that way. It had a look. I'm not saying I have proof of it. I don't. But it had a look of impropriety. It had a look from early in the fight when he started taking points, threatening to disqualify Donovan for headbutts, elbow, whatever. They were both in there with their heads. They were fighting in close quarters, especially Crocker. He comes forward. Donovan has more dimension to him. He can fight on the outside too, but he also knew with his great trainer, Andy Lee, former world champion who's been on a hot run with all kinds of wins with Parker and everything else, tremendous trainer. He understood Beat him on the outside, mug him as he tries to get in close to you, and then go inside and punch in between his widest shots and beat him and take him apart on the inside. Beat him on the outside, set him up like Sugar Ray Robinson, the great Sugar Ray Robinson would say, get him dressed up and then take him out. And that's what he was doing. He was dressing him up on the outside, making him pay for every inch of real estate. Every inch of real estate he was making. Southpaw is Paddy Donovan, making him pay on the way in. And then on the inside, starting to eat him up, chew him up. Crocker had his moments. That was his only chance to fight inside. He landed some shots, but Donovan was dominant. I disagree with you on one thing, Bud. He was going to stop him. He wasn't going to coast to a win. He was going to stop him. He was going to stop him, and he was going to stop him that round. Crocker, they were going to stop it in the corner maybe. His eye was closed. He was beaten up. He had already been hurt badly. He had already been busted up, banged up. He was ready to go, and then the referee saved him. The referee, I want him in my office. If I'm the czar of boxing, if there was some control in this darn sport of mine that frustrates the crap. There's nothing wrong with the sport as far as the fighters. They are special. They are warriors. They are what makes us watch this and put up with all the crap. But the administrators sometimes suck. The refereeing on Saturday, all the way from Belfast to Barclays Center in Brooklyn, New York, sucked. I say it again. I didn't say it clear enough, Rich. It sucked. You still need a haircut. It sucked. And I just tell you that something has to be done. If there was any policing of this sport, which there's not. Let's be honest, there's not. Because otherwise you wouldn't hear me talking about this for the last 30 years. You wouldn't hear me on ESPN talking about yelling at refs, doing it. You wouldn't keep, because it would have been fixed. But it doesn't get fixed because there is no czar. There is no national commission. There is no watchtower, to make sure that you put rules and you enforce them and you hold people accountable for it. So it keeps going on and on and on, and you got to hear this kind of crap on and on instead of talking about how great Paddy Donovan looked and how he took another step to his dream to win a world title with his kids there, his family there, and they tore the heart right out of his chest. If I was in charge, if anyone was in charge, the next step, I want that referee in my office Monday morning, watch the fight. You explain to me. Explain to me. I might want to see your bank accounts too. I'm just saying. Maybe. But you explain to me what you're doing here. You explain to me how. I come prepared. How in a place that was too loud, where Paddy Donovan has destroyed this guy. It's over. It's over. He can barely stand. He can barely see. He's all beaten up Crocker, right? It's too loud. Nobody can hear the bell. Donovan definitely hit him after the bell. Nobody can hear it. Crocker didn't hear it. And listen, Crocker's a real fighter. He's a tough guy. But when he said afterwards that he heard the bell and that's why he dropped his hands, no, I don't believe it, okay? I'm sorry. I give you all the appreciation in the world, all the respect, admiration for being a warrior that you are. I give that to you, Crocker, I do. But to say that you heard the bell, you didn't look like you heard, and you dropped your hand, you didn't show you were dropping your hands, and that's why you got hit. You were getting hit the whole round. You were getting hit the whole fight. And if we're going to go even further, which I'm known for doing, right? Because I don't care about making friends. I care about telling what I think, what I believe, just like I told about the Sheeraz fight when I went back and had to make sure if I had to correct myself of something I didn't say when I should have said it. I believe in saying what I believe and what I think can help the sport. And what I just think is, from my experience of 50 years in this sport, that I do have a position. I do have a platform. I've earned a certain amount, I think, of credibility, where if I say something, people listen because there's a reason why I'm saying it. I ain't saying it to be friends with somebody. I ain't saying it to get along with someone. I ain't saying it to survive. I'm saying it to make this sport better because I've been in it my whole life. There's no doubt. I'm saying it because I have a platform to make a difference sometimes, a responsibility to say things that I think need to be said that can help future fighters. That's all. I'm no patron saint. I don't pretend to be that. I just try to be me. And I have this platform. I've had a platform with ESPN for years. I did the same thing. And I'm being consistent with that. I want to know how, where a place was so loud, so damn loud, nobody could hear nothing, how the referee never announced 10 seconds. Why didn't you announce 10 seconds? That's your job. That's your job. 10 seconds, you hear the clack. Oh, maybe you didn't hear it, huh, ref? But you hear the clap, right? And that's not John Wooden knocking on wood. Knock on wood if you're with me, bud. Knock on wood if you're with me. John Gruden. Knock on wood if you're with me. John Gruden. I love John Gruden. Offensive genius. All right. The referee did not do his job. Maybe he did do his job. Maybe he got Donovan. Yeah, I said it. Yeah, I know I'm going down those pants. I said it. Maybe he did his job. That his job, for whatever reason, was to make sure Donovan didn't get to the finish line. To make sure he didn't win the fight. That's what's upset me. I don't know. But damn it, it looked bad. It looked bad the whole damn fight when he started interfering with the fight. So loud nobody could hear the bell. Referee never announced his job 10 seconds and never stepped in between them, but he never stepped in between them to signal the bell like he's supposed to do. That's part of his job. You get close when the bell's about to ring, you see the refs do it. Good refs. And they separate right at the bell. Make sure there's no late punch. He never did that.
He wasn't even in the frame. You couldn't even see him.
He wasn't even in the frame. But if he didn't do that, how does he expect Paddy to not throw a punch when the place is chaos, the place with all the fans, the Crocker fans, Donovan fans, Irish fans, and your great fans. I know I always tell the English they're the greatest. Irish, you're right up there too. You're right up there too. Especially you put a few Guinnesses in there in the mix. Yeah. I love you. I'm half Irish. What am I going to do?
Yeah, that crowd was electric.
My mom, Mary Riley. You don't get more Irish than that. So here you are. You got the crowd going nuts. The referee's nowhere in sight. He doesn't signal that it's a 10 seconds coming up. He doesn't get close to separate the fighters. And Donovan throws a punch late. And you're going to DQ him? You're just going to step in and DQ him? You're not even going to go over to Crocker and say, you need time? You okay? You're not even going to take time to see if this could be worked out? You're just going to stop, and I'm going to go, I started going a step further. I'm not looking to knock Crocker, but I am looking to point out things that other people, for whatever reasons, their eyes aren't good. Maybe they have a bias. Maybe they have an agenda. I don't have an agenda. I don't have a bias. I think he was playing a referee. I know he was beat up. I know it. And I know I'm going to get criticized for this. He's got all the heart in the world. He's a warrior, Crocker. I'm not knocking him. I'm just saying that he had no way out. That he had no way for the win. That was his one way for the win, for the referee to do that, to intercede. And he squinted his eye. I know his eye was closed. I know it was cut. I get it. But he made sure that he played every bit of it. He made sure the referee saw it. He made sure when he got hit that, I'm not saying he didn't get hurt, but he went down and he made sure. He made sure that this is my feelings from 50 years, I'm sorry. That I think that he made sure. I'm not saying he wasn't hurt. I know it was legitimate. I'm saying that he made sure he took advantage of that moment. That was his moment. Just like sometimes a guy drops his hand, pulls back, bang, bang. That's your chance to win the fight. And you take advantage of that moment. This was his chance. This was Crocker's chance to win a fight that was unwinnable. It was unwinnable to win the way he won. And he did what he had to do. And the referee did what he shouldn't have done. But maybe what he had to do. Because, again, his behavior, it had a look of impropriety. I have no proof of anything. I just know it looked bad. It looked bad. And I tell you, Eddie Hearn, I give him credit, the promoter. Him and Frank Warren, the top guys over there. and Ben Shalom, he's doing a good job. But those are the top guys over there. And they do a tremendous job. He's pretty honest. He's very articulate. Obviously, he knows how to speak, and he knows how to dress and all that stuff, Eddie, he knows how to do his job. But he said he's getting beat up. He's getting beat up. And he didn't make no qualms about it. I think that I'm hoping he's got a real good man. And again, full transparency, Bud. His manager is Keith Sullivan, a friend of mine. Yeah, he's a friend of mine. It's got nothing to do. You guys don't think that's why I'm doing this? Go ahead and think it. Go ahead. How about all the million times I've done it when I had no connection with anybody? How about that? How about that? Go back and check those. There's a lot of them. But Keith Sullivan is a friend of mine. He is a pro bono lawyer for my foundation that helps a lot of people because of the resource we get from you, from other people. Not me, from other people. We help people. And he is there as a pro bono lawyer, just like my daughter, just like David Berlin too, but like my daughter Nicole. They are lawyers that take care of others that the foundation is looking to help. And they do it, as I said, pro bono. So, yeah, I like Keith. Yeah, he's a good person. He's a good manager. That's not why I'm doing this. I want full transparency. That's why I threw that out there. And he's already appealed. What is the IBF? I think it was the IBF.
Yeah, to the IBF, to Daryl Peoples. Yep.
He's already put it. They better respond to this damn thing because they're going to hear it from me and from others, and they should. They better respond. There should be an immediate rematch. I know Crocker's in position now to fight for No, and I think Eddie Hearn's going to do the right thing. He's a promoter. I get it. I know but he sees the crowd. He sees it's a huge fight. It was a huge fight then. Now it's a beyond huge. Now it's beyond huge. And he sees that, and I think he's going to say, no, let's do this. Let's run this back before Crocker goes on to fight for the title. Anyway, I said my piece.
Yeah, definitely gutted for Donovan. I hope they get the immediate rematch by the IBF. He deserves it.
And how did he do it? I want to give a quick analysis. He controlled the outside. He was the better fighter. Again, Crocker, tough guy. But all he did was cover up and walk forward. You know what it looked like his plan was? To break him down mentally and physically. It wasn't working. Like, just to walk in and deteriorate by the pressure, hope to deteriorate Donovan as it got late. It wasn't working. Donovan was a class above. He was a better fighter. He was a more skilled, he was a more complete fighter, you used the word before, Crocker was one-dimensional. Yes, he was. Donovan is multi-dimensional. He's a southpaw, he can box on the outside, he can fight on the inside. And he could also give angles. He did a little of each. He boxed on the outside, as I said. He made him go through a bad neighborhood and he mugged him. That's what he did. And he caught him coming in, and then he said, the hell, okay, now it's time to go inside and start eating him up on the inside with short combos and defense in between. And he started doing that. And it was dominating the fight. He had a good fight plan, him and Andy Lee, his trainer. They executed it. He was going to stop him. I think he did stop him. I think it was a knockout. Huh?
Yeah, credit to Andy Lee. He's doing a hell of a job. One of the top trainers down in the game. And, yeah, he was levels above him. He was clearly...
And one other thing, Bud. I don't remember the former fighter. I hope you do. He was one of the commentators. I give him full credit. I give him 100% credit because he basically said
Tony
what
Bello?
I'm saying. Yeah, he was terrific. He deserved... You got all my respect, Tony. You a lot of times you guys with the mics, you keep your mouth shut when you should open them. And you don't say what needs to be said when it needs to be said. You did say what you had to say about how you felt about that fight.
Yeah, the last thing I just want to say before we move on, the ref was clearly not in position, was awful throughout the fight. He botched this to say the least. With that being said, the punch was clearly after the bell. For the viewers out there, how should have this fight ended? Should he have been given time to recover? And if he could not recover, we just go to the scorecards?
That's a great question, Bud. It's a great question. I just see the thing that really bothers me is it didn't just happen in that round. It was the way the ref was behaving for rounds and rounds before that. how he was just kept warning only one guy. And then he took points away twice, right? He took points away for head. I don't even know what it was for. I guess the head, the elbow, the head. Yeah. So he took points away. But they were both in there with their heads. I don't think that you could really show any evidence. I didn't see the replay on the elbow. There might have been an elbow in there. Okay, I didn't see that. I know I tried to see it and I missed it and they didn't show it again. But I don't think there's any evidence that you could say, in a definitive way that Donovan was trying to billy goat the guy on the inside. He didn't need to. I mean, when he went inside, Crocker was right there. I mean, that was Crocker's style to come forward. Crocker didn't move his head. He came forward. Again, I think he was looking to evaporate, physically and mentally evaporate Donovan. That was his plan, to just keep coming forward until he wore down Donovan. The problem was he was getting chewed up with punches. He was going through a grinder trying to do that, and it showed. Now, look, that's my problem, that this referee looked like he had an agenda to disqualify this guy, to interfere with this fight and put his handprint on this fight. Put his freaking his handprint on this fight, where he was not the fighters, but he was going to determine the outcome or have some influence on the outcome, and he did. And he did. That's my problem. And then when he got hit the last one, go ahead, warn him. Yeah, there was no warnings. All the other stuff was for supposedly headbutts. There was no warnings about late punches. You're just gonna in a big fight, like you're just gonna disqualify the guy. You're not gonna step in. You're not going to step in. Step in, take 2 points away. Step in, take a point away. Step in and one. And that's another thing. He actually helped. I forgot this part. He actually, oh my goodness, he actually helped Crocker get up. You're the ref. You're not supposed to help him get up. That's his corner. That's not your job. Or was it your job? Were you part of the corner? You sure look like you were. You sure look like you were. So, to answer your question, take a point away you want. Give him time. See if he recovers. Ask him. We've had a precedent for this. Gennaro Hernandez got hit late. The great Gennaro Hernandez, he's up in heaven now. He got hit late against the Zuma Nelson. He could have won the title. The referee asked him, you want time? You want me to disqualify him? He said, no. Give me a little time. He took a few minutes. He went back, and he wound up losing a decision, if my memory's correct, Bud, to Azuma, the great Azuma Nelson. He could have won the title right there. He had it. He didn't want to win that way. UFC has a precedent for that. Anthony Smith, the great Lionheart, he could have won a title like that against the GOAT. Am I correct?
John Jones.
Yeah.
John Jones.
Yeah. He got hit with a punch that was not a legal punch or kick, whatever it was. And he could have won by disqualification. He chose not to. He chose the behavior of a fighter. He said, no, I'm not, but he got that choice. The referee, to answer your question now, I'm sure what my answer is. The referee should have went down that road and asked Crocker, you need time? What do you want to do?
Yeah. Well, we hope we get the rematch, and we hope that referee is nowhere near sight for the next one. So with that being said, we'll move on from Belfast. We'll move on to the fight Saturday night in Brooklyn at the Barclays Arena. First, before we get to the main event, we had a 140-pound WBC title fight, Alberto Puello versus Sandor Martin. This was a very tactical matchup, two southpaws. Wasn't a lot of action in this fight. I thought that Martin was boxing, was moving. He was more active. Puello was longer, looking to counter. I thought he landed the more effective shots, started coming on strong in the later rounds. Very close fight. In the end, Puello retains his belt by split decision. What'd you make of this fight in the decision?
Yeah, Martin, I felt bad for Martin. This is his second shot for a title. Am I correct? I believe it is.
Yeah, he came up short in a very close fight to Teofimo Lopez in the past.
Yeah, I thought it was very close. You could have gave it to Martin. I agree with you. The more consequential punches down the stretch, especially, were landed by Puello when he started timing Martin with some big shots. Martin showed a great chin, great heart. Very awkwardly clever. It was an awkward fight. It wasn't the prettiest, most aesthetic fight to watch. There was a lot of grabbing, clinching, falling in, but there was also a lot of action too. It was a very interesting fight. Very, very interesting. Martin outworked Puello. What I saw, had his rounds early on where I thought he was controlling the tempo of the fight, the pace of the fight, the rhythm. I thought he was in a rhythm where early on Martin was looking like he was going to win the world title or have a good shot, controlling the rhythm because of his unorthodox approach, in and out. Bud, like he'll get off real quick, then he'll step out, then you think he's moving away, then he'll come in and suddenly bop, bop, bop. He's a mess. He's a mess to fight a guy like that. It's not easy. You got to time him. You got to be set to punch. You got to throw. Otherwise, you're going to come up short. You're going to be hitting the air all night. Martin had a nice mix of being aggressive and counterpunching in spots, mixing it up. For the most part, especially later on, Puello was just looking to press the action, looking to trap Martin, looking to nail him some big shots. And he did. He nailed him some big shots down the stretch, especially. Again, what is the criterion for boxing? It's supposed to be who lands the harder, more effective punches. I guess you go to Puello for that. You could also, depending on your what your druthers are, right? What your taste is. You could say, well, Martin outworked him. He outpointed him. There was spots where he definitely was ahead in the fight. But like you said, you could make the argument, and of course they did, that Puello came on strong, landed the harder punches, kept his title. Again, Martin is from Spain. He was trying to become one of those. They've had a few world champions. He was trying to add his name to that list. Second time he had the shot. Maybe he'll get a third shot. I think he deserves another shot. He's a good fighter. He's an ugly son of a gun. I don't mean facially, but I mean just
awkward style.
Yeah, it can be ugly, but it can be effective, and it could be a nightmare.
Yeah, it could make for, as you said, not the most entertaining fights, but it was a very close fight. And, he was trying to become the first Spanish fighter to become world champion since, I think it's been about 3 years since Kiko did it. So we will see what's next for them. Before we move on that card, I just want to take a quick break, pause, and give a thank you to today's sponsor, Athletic Greens, the all-in-one daily drink to support better health and peak performance. These guys spent 10 years with top nutritionists and doctors to create this formula. It's made from 75 whole food sourced ingredients. It has vitamins, minerals, prebiotics, probiotics, and antioxidants. This is like an insurance policy for your body's health and immunity. Athletic Greens is giving our listeners 10 travel packs for free. Simply visit athleticgreens.com/atlas to claim the special offer of 10 free travel packs. All right, so we move on from the Puello fight, and we're going to move on to Gary Antuanne Russell fight versus Jose Valenzuela, another title fight at 140 pounds. We just talked about Puello. He beat Gary Antuanne Russell in his last fight. Russell bounces back after that losing performance for the title, comes back and wins the title versus Jose Valenzuela. Valenzuela, a guy we saw versus Isaac Pitbull Cruz, looked like a completely different guy this go-around against Russell. Credit to Russell, extremely impressive performance. He was sharp all night. He was boxing. He was coming forward. And he even tried to close the show and went for the knockout, although he didn't get it in the end. Wins a unanimous decision, becomes world champion to join his brother, Gary Russell Jr., who's now his trainer. What'd you think of this fight? What'd you think of Russell's performance?
Yeah, listen, he reached his destiny. He comes from a fighting family. That's what I think. He fulfilled his destiny. The journey was what it was. He didn't win his first title, try. Sometimes you don't, but it was his journey to get that title because he comes from a fighting family, and he got it. And he got it for his father, who's up above watching all the Russells, who are all named Gary. I mean,
That's
they
right,
took
5 brothers.
yeah, they took a page. The father took a page out of the George Foreman book, and instead of George, he named them all Gary. I think he fulfilled his destiny to be a world champion. You come from that family, that is what is kind of embarked on you. That you're supposed to become a champ. He did that. He lost the first try, as you said, with Puello. He learned from that. He as I said, when you go through that, same thing as Sheeraz, I think he will be better if they fight a rematch with Adamas, where you just become better when you win the title, and even if you lose for the title, but it's the kind of fight that takes you to another place, that makes you search yourself, where you get answers to questions you had going in, and you just didn't have those answers, that you could depend on yourself at that level. That makes the difference. You're physically the same fighter. You learn a few things here and there. Maybe I got to throw the punch in this situation a little sooner. I got to tie. I got to be a little busier. Whatever. But it's really the mental part that gets improved, where you just know what you didn't know. No matter how much you thought you knew, you hoped you knew, that you can handle this level. And by knowing that after the Puello fight, and obviously knowing you're not going to get too many more chances. So there is also the urgency. It's good to have urgency, to have to get something done, to feel that threat, if you will, that wolf at the door, that you better get it done because you ain't going to get another chance maybe. I think all of that was there. And I think that I love Valenzuela. I love the way he won the title against Pitbull Cruz. But I thought Russell would win this fight because he's a very complete fighter. He's technically really, all the Russells are, but he's technically real. Gary was an Olympian. He was a world champion. The other Russell, he was in his corner. He did a good job. I think that he's gifted, he's talented, he's got fast hands, he can punch good, he's got quick feet, he closes gaps fast, he puts punches together. He's a technically sound fighter. And I thought that was going to be the difference in this fight for Valenzuela, because Pitbull, tough son of a gun, we all love him. We love what he brings to the arena, the excitement, the big punches, the drama, all of that, the hope that there's going to be a knockout, all of that. But he doesn't bring technique, Pit Cruz. He comes in one-dimensionally. He comes in with big shots, where Valenzuela, to his credit, he had a perfect fight plan. He boxed him on the outside. He used the jab, and then he punched inside those wide shots, and he was able to catch Pitbull coming in. He wasn't going to have those opportunities with Russell because Russell was going to be buttoned up in those areas. He wasn't going to be that one-dimensional. He was going to feint sometimes before he came in. He was going to move off to the side. He was going to come in, but he was going to do it behind a jab. He was going to do it with head movement. He wasn't going to be as available, as predictable as Pitbull was. And again, you got to be good to beat Pitbull. And Valenzuela was good that night. But this was you've said it, we've said, you grew up with that. Styles make fights. We always hear that in boxing. Well, they do make fights. And you saw the difference. Valenzuela now had to deal, with another aggressive guy, but a guy who was more buttoned up, who was technically superior to Pitbull. So he wasn't going to get those opportunities to do the things he did against Pitbull. And I want to commend Valenzuela, the heart he showed to get to the finish line, to fight every bit. He never got to a point where some fighters get to where he just tried to survive. I think he lost every round, or just about. I didn't keep score, but he It was a great one-sided fight because it was one-sided, and he was taking a beating in some rounds, but he never gave 1 inch towards the place where you see fighters do sometimes, where they just survive. He was still trying to, and you know what? He was landing. Good thing Russell's got a good chin, because Valenzuela was landing uppercuts. He was landing straight left hands from the southpaw, right? He's a southpaw. I'm trying to remember. From the southpaw position. He was landing the power hand, the southpaw left hand. He was trying all the way to the bell to do the one thing that he had to do at that point, knock out Russell to win the fight, to keep his title. He was trying like hell. And I give credit to Russell. Russell got inside. He put punches together. He went to the body and the head. He showed his technique. He showed his gift of talent. All of it. And you know what else he showed that was a little different? He kept the pedal to the metal all the way to the finish line. He didn't go into the prevent defense. Now, you could knock him for it if you want. I'm not. But you could say, my God, the last 2 rounds, he had it in the bag. He had the fight in the bag. What is he going for the knockout for? He could get knocked out. He's given Valenzuela, which he was. He's given Valenzuela the one chance he needs to have the guy coming where I could pull this out of the fire. And he still kept coming. He could have started boxing. He did for a second. But then he said, freak this. And he went right back to say, no, I'm going to win the title on my terms. I'm gonna not just fight like a champ. I'm going to behave like a champ in my mind, my family's mind, my father's mind, who's up watching us up in heaven, who brought us all up. We're fighters. We're going to fight all the way to the last bout. I'm going to do it right. I'm going to be smart, but I'm going to go, and I ain't taking off the last 3 rounds. You know, don't I guess Oscar De La Hoya wished that he had that attitude against Trinidad, right? Is that a little bit of a point there? You know, when I thought he was ahead. I thought that Oscar was ahead in that fight. And he went for the last 3 rounds. He moved, he boxed, and he gave up those rounds, and he wound up giving up the title. Trinidad wound up getting it because of that. I guess a combination of whatever I'm saying, but I thought it was worth saying that Russell did not coast to the title, which he could have. There's no way you could give that to Valenzuela in the last 2 rounds unless he knocked him out, unless he dropped him 10 times, you know. But he said no. He said, I know it's a little more risky, but this is what I do. I fight. And I'm going to fight to the last bell. I'm going to do it right. And I'm going to win the freaking title. If I can't do that, I don't deserve the title. It was great to see. I appreciate that.
Yeah, it was. It was a good fight. You said it best. It was a really good fight, one-sided fight, but a really good fight. And it was a nice scene afterwards, the emotions of the family for Gary Russell and the tears, and to see them with the belt in hand that he's worked so hard for. And we'll see what's next. Maybe it's a rematch versus Alberto Puello at 140 pounds. 140-pound division was heating up last night. I just want to touch on real quick before we move on to the main event. Talking about 140-pounders, Subriel Matías, always exciting, former 140-pound world champion, fought last night on DAZN during this card. A lot of people probably didn't get to watch it, but he did win, I believe, an 8th-round knockout, so he'll be back in the picture as well. So congratulations to all the guys at 140 pounds and Gary Antuanne Russell. And we'll move on to the main event. Talk about wild and controversy. We had Tank Davis versus Lamont Roach. Tank, as you touched on earlier, entered a 15-1 favorite in this fight. And I know he starts slow a lot, but he just seemed off from the get-go. His body language seemed off. He had a change in his corner with a new trainer this fight, with Barry Hunter being an addition to the corner. You made a good point during the live stream. He kept touching gloves with his opponent in between rounds, almost to be friends, and something I've never seen Tank do before, something that I don't think he ever does, that he's usually more arrogant and pushing guys off and not being friends. But he was never able to get going. He did some work on the inside, and but Roach was the boss. Roach was doing great work on the inside. Roach was backing him up. I thought Roach fought a very disciplined fight, very composed fight. He shocked me. I thought he won the fight and didn't get the decision. Wound up being a draw. But also a lot of controversy, and we'll touch on that too. What'd you make of the decision? And then we could get into the taking the knee and the calling the timeout and all the other theatrics and drama that went on with this one.
Bad refs. We need better refs. We need more educated refs, whatever you want, trained refs. You know, I'm not going to say honest because I don't know if honesty had something to do with it. I don't know. But definitely we need better refs, refs that assure themselves, know how to make a decision, know they're making the right decision, you know, emboldened to make that decision. I think that I don't know that he would have let Roach get away with that. He let Tank Davis get away with. Why? Tank Davis is a star. You know, I think he set a record for the most fans ever in Barclays Stadium. Tell me if I'm right or wrong, but I believe they hit a new attendance and maybe a gate record. They've done concerts there. They've done fights there, basketball games there.
Yeah, I think you're right. It was the record for the gate for a fight for sure. I think the Rolling Stones might be the only one that beat them at the Barclays. But either way, they did huge numbers.
They did big numbers. He's a star. He brings people. He's got a big fan base. He brings good pay-per-view numbers. I don't know what the numbers are in this, but, you know, he's one of the guys that bring good pay-per-view numbers. I think all of that, he brings that with him. When a referee allows him to take a knee, which is not a rule in boxing, and get away with it, and not make it a 10-8 round. That should have been a 10-8 round. He got hit with a jab just before that. I'm not trying to go after Tank Davis. People already know. Some people say I defend him too much, that I'm saying how great he is. And he is. He's a tremendous, complete fighter, puncher, fighter, inside, outside. He's patient. He's responsible defensively. He's got fast hands. He puts punches together. He goes to the body and head. He's all of that. He can counterpunch. He can set traps. All of that. But he was wrong here. He got away with it. But the sport let him get away with it. There's nothing wrong with the fighters. It's the administrators of this sport that there's a lot wrong with. And there is. And you see it. And we shouldn't keep seeing it. It's got to be stopped. A referee, that is not in the rule book. You get hit with a jab. I know there was a second or two in between. Sometimes you see a delay, knockdown, whatever. The punch didn't hurt him. I understand that. But he got hit a jab, and then a second, 2 seconds later, he takes a knee. Guess what? I'm sorry. That constitutes a knockdown. Your knee goes down after a punch somewhere around there. That's a knockdown. There is, again, we're not in football. There are no fair catches here. You know what I mean? And if it was, to your point last night when I said it, it would be a touchback. You know what I mean? It would, if you took a knee in a certain situation, it would be a touchback. You know, I mean, there are rules for a reason. Unless even Crawford came out. The great Terence Crawford, pound for pound, one of the best fighters in the world, in the top three, between him, Inoue, and Usyk, right? I got Usyk first. I got him in Inoue right there. I think Usyk deserves to be first after what he's done, putting together the heavyweight title, the whole thing, the whole shebang. But Crawford came out and said, I didn't know that was a rule. I guess I was sleeping when they passed that one. I guess I was taking a nap. Or maybe I was out doing road work. He didn't say that, by the way. I'm just adding that to it. But I must have been busy doing something when that rule. That is not a rule. I said it earlier. This is not the Indianapolis 500. You can't go into pit row. That you need your oil changed. You need your tire changed. You need grease wiped from your eye. I'm sorry. There's no pit row that you can go and do that. He did it. He went down a knee, and Roach, give him credit. Or you could say, you know what, you should have went after him. Because what's that old saying? Defend yourself, at all times.
At all times.
Right? So he would have been in his right to go after him. I've seen fighters go after guys and hit them when they're turning, walking away. The referee didn't stop it. Unless the referee interjects and that bell hasn't rung, you have the right to hit that guy. That's fighting. That's it. So Roach had the right. He was a gentleman. He was a sportsman. I give him credit. But he had the right, when Tank turned, to come and just hit him a left hook or whatever he was going to hit him with. He's a southpaw, so he would have hit him maybe a straight left hand, whatever, right? Roach is a southpaw too, right? They were both southpaws. Am I correct? I don't want to have that wrong. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that, right? Roach was a southpaw too. I don't want to be wrong on that. And
no, Roach is orthodox.
Oh, he's orthodox. I'm sorry. Oh, that's right. He was using that jab all night on the outside. So Roach would have hit him a left hook. You're right. Whatever it was in his right. It was in Roach's right to just pursue him and throw at him and maybe catch him and knock him down when he was turning. I mean, it wouldn't have been the nicest thing to see, but he wouldn't have been in the wrong. Who was in the wrong was Tank, and the referee allowing him to take a knee, go to his corner, get whatever was obstructing his vision, wiped away, and then he went back to work. So that has to be. I mean, if the referee scores that a 10-8 round, which really it should have been, even though I know he wasn't hurt, I get it, but technically it should have been a 10-8 round. Roach doesn't get a draw. He wins the title.
Wins the fight.
And a lot of people out there that might have had a ticket plus 900, they're feeling pretty good right now. So at the end of the day, I don't know, to your point, that Davis was off. Look, you don't know what his outside life is. He has had controversy in his personal life, so we don't know. Could that be distracting? We don't know. We're not here to make excuse. We're not here to speculate on things we don't know. I don't know. To your point, he looked a little off. You know what? I'm not going to argue you, but what I am going to say is, for me, it was because Roach made him look a little off. Because of what Roach said. If Roach didn't fight the fight he did, he don't look off. I think that he bullied the bully a little bit. That's what I think happened. I think that he's been a little bit of the boogeyman. You know, people are intimidated by him. People are knocked out by him. You know, he's 30-0 coming in with 28 knockouts. He's got the highest knockout percentage, I think, of any active champion right now, even higher than Beterbiev, even higher than Inoue, who have pretty high ones. He's used to guys melting on him. This guy didn't melt. I'm not saying Tank's weak. I'm just saying we don't know till we know when people are tested in certain ways. We had never seen him tested in that way. And all of a sudden, what happens? This guy is maybe he overlooked him mentally. That could happen. That could happen where you're that kind of favorite. You're Tank Davis. You're supposed to knock this guy out. You could overlook him. There's no doubt about it. You could mentally go in there thinking I'm going to knock him out, and you're not ready mentally to go the distance in a tough fight because you didn't gear yourself, even though you're supposed to. We're human. Even though you're supposed to be ready for that. You can't assume anything in this business, in life. But is it possible he went in there like everyone else who made him a minus 1,600, favorite, thinking he's just going to he's going to get rid of this short work in front of him? Yeah, he might have bought into that a little bit, even subconsciously, not wanting to. It happens. But that could have had something to do with it. The end of the day, it was Roach who made him have an off night. When Roach, he had the right fight plan. He was longer, he was bigger, he was taller. He used the jab on the outside. And he fought with that geography. And then he started shrinking the ring. He started coming in, which I got to be honest, I didn't think he should do. I didn't know if he could do it. I thought that was dangerous territory and it was. But he was prepared for that dangerous territory. But I thought his territory had to be on the outside. Use that jab, set traps. See if you could get Tank, who's a really buttoned-up fighter. He doesn't make a lot of mistakes. See if you could get him to bite. See if you could get him to get over-anxious. See if you could frustrate him. See if you could get him to come into a counter. But don't go into the lion's den. Don't go into the lion's den because you might get your head bit off. Because other people have gotten their head bit off. He went into the lion's den. But he did it the right way. He was buttoned up, tight, guard. He came in behind the jab. And he did Joe Louis stuff. Joe Louis, I love Joe Louis. Joe Louis threw the nicest, shortest right hands you ever saw. Straight, bop, 6 inches. No room to counter. No room to make a mistake where you could hit the guy. He threw those kind of right hands and left hooks, offered short punches. If you go inside a dangerous place with a guy like this, and you go inside, you keep your defense tight, and you throw your punches real short where there's no air. There's no air. There's no room for punches in between with the quick power hands of Tank. You can get away with it, and he did. And he prospered in there. I always say sometimes the safest place, believe it or not, is in the eye of the storm. He understood that. You have to have the nerve, the confidence, the mental togetherness to do that. He had all of that, not just the size, the reach, the ability. He had that. The mental togetherness to go inside, the confidence, just the nerve to go in there, which a lot of people can't do, and be able to survive in there and more than survive, prosper, make hay, actually win in there in spots. And then what did he do? I thought, okay, get your spots, get out, get in. He started walking them down. Late in the fight, I thought it was a close fight, Bud. I don't know there was a huge robbery. I thought there was a lot of close rounds. I thought at the end of the day, I did think that Roach deserved to probably get his hand raised, but I'd have to watch it again because there was a lot of Tank had an edge in rounds, middle rounds, earlier rounds. He had an edge a little bit, placing nice shots, body, doing a good job, doing what he usually does. I thought it was a close fight. I thought Roach came on in the late rounds and maybe took the title. At the very least, earned the draw. It was a close fight. But when he went inside, when he started back around the 5th round, whatever rounds, you alluded to it because I talked about it last night, where Tank suddenly, which we've never seen this before, started touching him, tapping him. Hey, bud, good round. He never does that. He's got a disdain. He's got an attitude, an arrogance, like you said. He's the boogeyman. He's Tank Davis. He knocks guys out. He don't give them any reprieve. He don't give them hope. He don't make them feel like he's a good guy. He makes them feel like he's a bad guy. You're in here with a bad guy, and bad things are going to happen to you because I'm a bad guy. And all of a sudden, he taps him. That's sending a message. I noticed that. I know no other commentators talk about that, but I noticed that right away. And that's why I said it on our live streaming, on our watch along. And don't think Roach didn't notice it. If I'm in the corner with Roach, and his corner did a great job. I don't know if they did this, but I'm seeing that. As soon as he gets back, I'm going to make sure that I make sure he's aware of that. I'm going to say, you're getting to this guy. He don't do that. He doesn't do that. He's making a concession here, an admittance that you're getting to him, that this is different tonight. You're making him feel different. You're making him think.
I don't know.
You're making him feel vulnerable.
I don't know if his corner pointed that out to him, but maybe he himself, Roach, felt that because you could see him growing, the confidence round by round. And he looked like a different guy, a bigger guy as the fight progressed.
You're right. And you said that. I used to buy those little sponges for you when you were a little baby. I used to buy those little figurines for my grandchildren. I buy them for my grandchildren, Rich. And what you do, they're little sponges. And then you put them in a bathtub and they get big. They blow up. That was what this guy was doing. Roach was blowing up. He was getting bigger right in front of your eyes. And to my son's point, that he noticed Tank touching him. Of course he did. He saw it. He felt it. And he knew what that meant. That meant this guy's giving. He's giving in a certain area. I'm not overdoing it here, but all you need is a little something in that kind of fight for a guy who's been that kind of monster, that kind of fearsome, unbeatable force, dangerous force. Now suddenly he's showing a crack. That's the word. He showed a crack, and Roach saw it. He felt it. He witnessed it. He was part of it, and he said, "I'm gonna keep doing what I'm doing. I'm on the right path. I needed that. I needed that. That was assurance. That was verification that I'm getting to him. I'm getting to him. Tonight is different. And what did he do? He started backing him up, doing what I probably would have been worried about doing, to be transparent about it. But he started with a tight defense behind that jab, straight punches, short punches. He started backing him up. He started bossing him around. He started becoming the boss of that fight.
Yeah, he bullied the bully.
Yeah, he bullied the bully. Really, he bullied the bully. You know, it's kind of like when you're in the schoolyard and you see the bully having his way all the time, right? And then all of a sudden, one day a guy stands up to him. The bully ain't acting the same way. All of a sudden, he's not, quite as aggressive. I used to laugh. Customado used to say, yeah, all of a sudden, he's acting like the principal's holding him back. Meanwhile, the principal's 4 feet back.
Right.
Like, hey, let me out. Nobody's holding you back. You're okay. But, Tank's not doing that. But I'm just saying that there was a crack. There was a change in behavior, a change in attitude, a change in confidence. And Cus had a saying, I think it's appropriate here, but I'm going to throw it out there. He used to say, when you depend a little bit on, look, Tank depends on talent. I'm not saying he don't. But when you also, part of that mix is that whether you wanted it to be or not, it became that intimidation becomes part of that mix. Where you're dependent on talent to beat guys, but intimidation is a partner in there, in that mix, where it's also part of it. When you get to a place where maybe you've been depending on that a little bit, or at least cognizant of that, when all of a sudden the intimidated doesn't get intimidated, he becomes the intimidator. That's a brilliant, brilliant message that Cuss used to tell me. You're not going to hear that from too many people. When you are depending, it happened with Mike Tyson, if we're going to really get down to truths here. When you depend on intimidation, now I'm not saying Tank did it, I think Tyson did, but I don't think Tank did to that degree. I don't. But when that's part of the mix, and you depend on intimidating, being the intimidator, and the guy that you are trying to intimidate does not get intimidated, you become the intimidated. He becomes the intimidator. I think a little bit of that happened, a little bit. The bottom line is he fought a hell of a fight, Roach. He deserves credit. Tremendous. He went into the lion's den, and he came out. He came out, unscathed. He backed him up.
It's a win for him. He won last night. He doesn't get Tank's belt, but he won, and
his stock
we can't
went
wait
up.
for that rematch. The stock goes up. I just, we always talk about how important it is in boxing. You read so many comments, only in boxing after last night, only in boxing, and why it's important to be the A side. Because what you were touching on earlier, if Roach takes the knee, what does that look like last night? If Otto Wallen has his eye cut like Tyson Fury did, is that fight stopped? Or does the A side and the money guy get the leeway? And a lot of controversy. I thought a real thorough breakdown by you. Yeah.
I think we know the answers. We know the answers, unfortunately.
But we need the rematch, and we'll get it. But I touched on last night during the live stream, it's the great Angelo Dundee with Ali when he couldn't see and he was blinded. He didn't say go out there and call a timeout, take a knee. Go and run, move until you can see. And just to be able to go out there and call a timeout, it's like being in the schoolyard. Oh, do-over. Unbelievable. This has to be addressed. This can't just continue. This referee must be sat down and reprimanded. And hopefully we get some answers and we get the rematch.
We won't. I'm sorry. I'm terrible. I am, but I'm ashamed of myself. I am so cynical. But this sport has made me cynical. I'm sorry. I don't see anyone's going to is going to reprimand this referee. I don't. What are they going to do? I mean, it happens too often. It's happened too often. I don't know. We need a national commission. That's the only thing I could think of, but we're not getting one right now. But the last thing I want to say to put a bow on this one, Bud, we talked about the controversial part, but I want to finish with the great part. That was high-level boxing. That was two guys at the highest level showing their skills and everything that goes with it. And the contrary to what a lot of people think, oh, that was just slugging, that was just fighting. No, that was high-level boxing. That was the sweet science at its best. At its best. I mean, a lot of people think sweet science with the separation, and you make a guy miss and you counter, and then all of a sudden you're in front of him. Boom! You're the invisible man. You're on the side. That's sweet science too, yes. And it's easier to see. It grabs your attention. Oh, wow, look at that guy. He's on the outside. Yeah, he slipped 4 punches. Bop, bop, bop. He threw back. Then he was gone. He was gone. Where'd he go? Yeah, wow. That's sweet science. Yeah. But when you're inside in a dangerous place, in the middle of the furnace, with all the flames and everything going, and you don't get burnt up, you don't get torched, you don't get scorched, that is high level boxing. That is the sweetest of the sweet of science. I just marveled at it. These two guys, oh my goodness, they were inside in that cauldron, in that dangerous place, and their punches are missing by a fraction. They're riding it by a fraction, and they're throwing everything straight, and there's no room for error. Both guys, especially Tank, so dangerous. One little misstep, one little punch that's not quite straight enough, not quite timed enough. Not quite the right angle. Bang, it's all over. Oh, like my Italian friends would say. Mwah, mwah. Nick Baffett, God bless you, the thin man. Great boxing guy, great friend. He's up in heaven. He used to say after a good meal, he used to say, Teddy, Benny, whatever. I'm known for slaughtering all different languages, all different, I'm international for slaughtering. I am. I'm international for slaughtering everything, names, this, that. But, hey, what are you going to do? I love my sport that I've been in for 50 years. I hate what people do to it. I hate it. I don't hide that. I love the fighters. I admire the fighters. I try to defend the fighters the best I can. But that was appreciated by me. To see, I appreciate Floyd Mayweather. I appreciate Sugar Ray Leonard. I appreciate, all those great fighters. Muhammad Ali, that, Willie Pep, who I got a picture of, Will of the Wisp over here, all of those guys, when they do their thing. And they did their thing last night in a box. In a box where there was very little room. And they made that box special. They did special things in that box. They made punches just missed. They threw straight. They made a little move here, a little. It was like I said, there was no room for a mistake. There was just it had to be at that level, and it was at that level. It was great.
Yeah, it was. It was great, and that was a great thorough breakdown by you of not just that fight, all the fights from this past weekend. A lot of action. And I hope the fans, the viewers, enjoy that. Before we move on and end this show, want to touch on UFC for our MMA fans. UFC 313, the big one next week, will be in Las Vegas. You'll be covering it for ESPN, joining me out here in Vegas. I'll be lucky enough to attend this fight with you. But just for the main event, let's give a quick preview. Alex Pereira versus Magomed Ankalaev, the classic striker versus wrestling matchup. What do you expect in this one?
I expect striking because Ankalaev is a proud guy, and as good a wrestler he is, and he has the edge over Pereira, the kickboxer background, who's just a dangerous striker and kicker too. He was a kickboxer. Ankalaev has the edge if he could get him to the ground to wrestle. Maybe he'll mix that in a little bit, but I think it's going to be a striking match because Ankalaev believes in his striking abilities. He's a southpaw. He'll put up his striking abilities with anybody, and I think that's what he's going to do with Pereira. Even though a lot of people would say that he shouldn't. Again, he doesn't get enough credit for how good a striker Ankalaev is. He's strong. He's a southpaw, as I said. He knows how to close distance with his legs under him without reaching, without leaving himself available to counters. Pereira's thing is he's so dangerous. He's such a great puncher, and he throws a short left hook that's unbelievable. It really is. It's brilliant. And he's got a delivery system. He could do two things, Pereira. He's got good reach. He could keep you at the end of his punches where he gets full extension, and he does that great, where he punishes you at the end of his punches. Or he could let you come in. He could retreat a little bit, let you come in and throw that left hook I just talked about. It's really something. It really is. It's so short. Pop. You don't even see it. And it lands on the chin and knocks guys out. So he can set traps with that. He can keep you at the end of his punches. He's dangerous with his kicks, his leg kicks, his head kicks. He's very athletic. He's very explosive. I think it's going to be a hell of a fight. I think Ankalaev, believe it or not, having given all those accolades to Pereira, I think Ankalaev's going to be right in there with him. I don't think he's going to make mistakes. Pereira, as I said, part of his dimension is if you make mistakes, he's going to counter you. He's going to hit you with that left hook. Ankalaev doesn't just rush in. He comes in properly, with his legs, behind his jab. I think that Ankalaev knows how to set traps too. I've seen that dimension to him where I can see an opportunity for Ankalaev in two places. One, if he could get Pereira to be a little over-aggressive, because Pereira is the beast right now. He's knocking everyone out. He's the boogeyman. I've been using that phrase with Beterbiev. I touched on a little bit with Tank. He is the boogeyman. And with that stare, that debilitating stare, with everything, and with his power, with obviously his results. So maybe he could get Pereira thinking he's going to go and get rid of this guy, get him to come in a little bit and set up a counter to catch Pereira giving up his reach, catch him in a trap. Or Pereira does have flaws. Everybody does. He goes straight back on a straight line sometimes. And I could see an opportunity there for a guy like Ankalaev to follow him. But you got to be careful. It's a dangerous follow. It's a dangerous road. Because if you follow him and there's a little space, he's going to counter you. You got to make sure that you do it just right, where you do it tight, where you catch him going back and you're right with him. You're right with him when he's not set to punch and you catch him going back. You can't do that. I think Ankalaev is going to look to do that. I think he's going to have opportunities to do that. At the end of the day, I think it's going to be I think it could be an upset. I know that people are going to go nuts hearing that because Pereira's the boogeyman right now. I get it.
Vegas has this one very close. It's almost a pick'em. So they're thinking like you are a little bit.
Oh, it's always good to hear that Vegas is thinking like Teddy Atlas. That's always a nice thing to hear.
Well, that's a good breakdown and preview for that UFC 313 pay-per-view card next week. I can't wait to watch Pereira fight as always, and I can't wait to have you and the entire family out here in Vegas, more importantly. So I look forward to that.
So do we.
Again, for the fans, you will be covering this fight for ESPN. Because of that in travel, we will not be up on Monday episode. We will be up next week on Tuesday, and then we will get back to our regular consistent showings on Monday for the podcast. So just wanted to remind everybody that. And also, if you haven't, it's on the YouTube channel. Go back, watch the live stream commentary from Teddy for the Tank Davis fight last night and the co-feature fight as well. It's still up there. I think a lot of people enjoyed it. So if you get a chance, go check it out. So before signing off, Bud, any final words?
Yeah, I just want to welcome, I've done it already, I think, but I want to welcome a little more formally new members to our team, Richie and Ben. Richie's here. He's been here the last few weeks doing the filming. He's doing a tremendous job. More importantly, he's a tremendous person. And Ben, the same thing. A tremendous person. He came over a couple of weeks ago, helped us with the live streaming. He's going to be doing editing responsibilities and adding little things here. Graphics and things like if I mention a boogeyman, boom, he might put up John Wick, the boogeyman. And next time, people out there, I heard you with that too. That I'll say the name. I'll try to say the name right. Is it Babaluka?
Baba Yaga, I think.
Baba Yaga. Thank you, bud. Baba Yaga, and that's Baba
my
Luka.
wife speaks fluent Russian. I should probably know that, but I think it's Yaga, not Luga. We did get a lot of comments about that last week, but
they liked it. It was all
close
fun.
enough.
It was all fun. Yeah, and like I said, Ben is doing the editing. He sees something. He sees me talking about something. Bang! He'll put a picture up. He'll put something that relates to that up. And also, I want to take a minute to thank Sam Rivera, who's been with us for 5 years now. And like I said, he's doing something else right now. He's been with us. I can't thank him enough for all the work he's done with us. And Ben is going to be stepping into his shoes, which are big shoes to fill. But Sam has done a great job with us. And he'll continue to be around if we need him. But Ben will be doing, like I said, he will be taking over those duties. And Sam puts up all those great videos. You've seen him before, Sam Rivera, and I just wanted to make sure I said that. So to the people out there that watch us, please, pass the word, subscribe, get your friends to subscribe, watch the live stream, and if you want us to continue doing that, because if you're with us, we're with you. It's that simple. Thanks, bud, for getting, putting up with being sick and all that. I appreciate it.
No, thank you, bud. Thank you all for joining and viewing, and we'll see you guys next week.